All right, welcome everyone. I'm Jennifer Britton, and I'm excited today to be co-delivering this with Kathy Vaughan, our team lead for team coaching. So Kathy, how are you doing today?
I'm doing excellent, Jennifer, and you?
I'm good. I'm good. We've also got Rita, who is our team lead for Reconnecting Workspaces, and Suhair, who is one just joining us for this call. So great to be here, co-coaching, co-facilitation. I want you to sort of set the stage for us today, Kathy. Over to you.
Thanks, Jennifer. So we're really excited to be talking about co-coaching and co-facilitation. There's so many proverbs and sayings about two heads are better than one, or the other one, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So this idea of working with another person is there in our everyday speech, whether it's collaboration, but even just the beginning of the prefix of co, right? Two. As you know, Jennifer, you've been writing about working with from one to many for many, many years. And we've really been talking about how to coach others. What we're going to focus on today, which is super exciting, is how to, with another coach, collaborate to partner in the partnership with the team who is your client. And so really excited to do that and to kick off this community call Q4 of 2022, which has just been a super amazing year. And this is really on point of best practice now in team coaching, of really intentionally working with another coach. And we'll talk more about that, I know, as we have you go through some of the work that you've done over the last decade.
Absolutely, Kathy. And, to sort of level set, I think, as you've said, it's best practice right now to be co-coaching once we're working with larger groups and always when we're working with teams. The complexity, the diversity that exists within a team, while one coach can do an okay job, I really firmly believe that, the diversity, the sort of different voices that co-coaches can bring into the room adds such an important layer. And I think in 2022, which is when we're recording this, we may be co-coaching with an external coach. We may also be partnering with an internal coach, right? There's lots of derivatives of this, but together we can really provide just that, the breadth that's required. What have you noticed, Kathy, from your career? Because you've also co-coached. So anything that you want to sort of put into the space as we get launched with today's call and getting people started to think about it?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different reasons why even the client might mention let's co-coach. Some of it might be, as you mentioned, diversity, someone who knows the system, someone who might be internal, someone they know, might be something a client asks you to do. The client may have concerns about the number of people. How are you going to handle that? And I think those are really good reasons to start that conversation from the beginning in the contracting conversations of, who are you working with? But even before that, Jennifer, I think and we say this when we're delivering the course Team Coaching Essentials, start to think about who you can partner with, even before you need to. It's so much easier to have exploratory conversations with people, to get to know who they are, how they show up. If you could even use an assessment like Strengths Finder. And what's important to you, your values, so that when you have to find someone to work with, you've done a lot of the foundational work.
I love
that. I think that's what I'm seeing.
And I'm so glad you pointed us to like difference in styles as well as different value sets. It's these elements that either contribute to an amazing coaching of many, whether again, it's that bigger system in a group context or it is a team coaching engagement. And just like Kathy said, it takes time, right? We can't naturally form a solid partnership with another coach or another collaborator right away. That takes effort. And so being proactive in this space of co-coaching, I think is really critical. I've been writing on this since Effective Group Coaching came out in 2009. A chapter on collaboration, co-facilitation, co-coaching was a digital supplement in that book. It was too big. It was going to make the book too big. And so flash forward to 2013. And in 2013, it was then a chapter in From One to Many. So if you have a copy of From One to Many, definitely, check out the chapter on collaboration, because my modeling has really been informed by practice, right? As most of you know, I'm a practitioner first, and then a researcher, and then a theorist. And we know that for great collaboration to happen, it needs to be intentional and it needs to be planned. And so that's really the heart of our call today. Kathy also mentioned you could do, say, Strengths Finder to get to know each other. If you've been following along with us here, you might also be aware that we've now got the team and group coaching Superpower quiz. And actually, one of the reasons why I wanted to create that was to give some language and framework for team and group coaches to be able to start the conversation on a coaching zone. So if you have not yet met not only our digital dozen and our hybrid hive, who you can recognize if you've been following along in this graphic here, but check out the team and group coaching Superpower quiz, because it helps you identify 5 different coaching styles. So this is a framework I've evolved and iterated on the 15 plus years of training group and team coaches. We all bring our unique style. And what's important in the space of group and team coaching is not only how do we amplify that with our partners, but also how do we expand our range? And very much that's our focus in one of our newest programs this fall, which is the Amplify program and Activate. We are actually calling it Activate Your Team and Group Coaching Superpowers. So as we get into this, just want to give a couple of PSAs, right? We do these calls regularly, and we hope that this is valuable to you in keeping you informed. Again, these community calls happen on Tuesdays. You can always drop in, as I want to acknowledge, in addition to Suhair, we also have Check Ming. So Check Ming is 12 hours ahead of us. So good to see you. Maybe 13 hours now, right, with the time frame. Good to have you here, Check Ming. It is also the 1st of November. And so one of my passion projects, which I think many of you have benefited from, is that it's National Novel Writing Month. In fact, Effective Virtual Conversations, the 90-day guide for success, were either born or moved over the finish line during these month-long writing marathons. So my challenge this month on a personal level is to take actually my new book for 2023, which is in manuscript form. It's a resource for group and team coaches. I'm going to be taking that over the finish line. And my daily challenge will be to find time to write 1,667 words per day, which total 50,000 words over the month. I know myself, I usually have to do this in blocks, so I'll be writing, usually I do it early in the morning, but this year I think it may be late at night. So if you're interested in joining us, you can find a link to our Conversation Sparker Zone, where I've shared these 2 resources I had our designer create, because I've done Nano now for almost 10 years and I've never had my own tracker, and I really wanted a tracker. So yesterday I reached out to Ovi, who creates so many amazing things, and he has done his magic. You will only find them at our Conversation Sparker Zone. So to get there, visit us at Effective Group Coaching on Facebook or on my LinkedIn page. And you'll see a link to that this morning. The other piece that we want to spotlight is today's conversation links into our new certificate in team and group coaching, and our 6th course in the pathway of development for team coaches is a course that is new and evolving this fall, and it's called Co-Coaching Essentials. So if you enjoy today's call, consider joining us for that 5 to 6 week deeper dive into the topic of coaching, where you'll actually have a chance to learn more about your natural style, but also how that can integrate with another partner. Our commitment here, of course, has remained the same since I opened the doors in April 2004, helping coaches do better work in the area of group and team coaching. It's through our books, it's through our programs, it's through offerings like this to the general wider public. We want to help you have the resources and give you the thinking time as well around what's going to help you do your best work. It's really critical. So for those that may be interested, it's also November, which means I'm leading a number of intensive days. So next Monday and Tuesday, the 7th and 8th, I'll be leading our usual 6-week team coaching essentials in a convenient 1.5 day format. If you are interested in that, we've got about 4 spaces left. So please reach out, and you'll find all these over at groupcoachingessentials.ca. And that's it for our PSAs, but this is a really important vehicle for us to stay connected. And so to bring you into the room, Kathy has done such a great job in setting us up. I want to give you a moment. I brought some visual prompts here, and I want you to take a minute, grab a pen and a piece of paper, and I'd like you to lean into your screen and think about what's possible if you collaborate or co-coach. Again, we're assuming you may be a coach, you may be a counselor, you may be a facilitator. If you collaborate, what is possible? I'm going to set my timer for a minute. I'd invite you to sketch this out and write something down as well. There's always magic that gets created in these minute pauses. So pick a photo, sketch it out on your page, and for yourself, note what's possible if you collaborate or co-coach. Timer starting now. All right, that is a minute. I know it goes fast, but we want to really bring you into the space. Kathy, you're here with me today, so do you want to share which one you were attracted to?
Yes, Jennifer. So when I think of the collaboration or coach, I actually think of the one on the bottom, which is I think it's someone doing with a light or a candle or something, making visuals, but there's somehow connectivity.
Yes. I picked the same one, Kathy, and I wrote down the words arc, expansion, dynamism, range, and wow, right? Like it's sort of a wow. It's like, wow, look at all of those layers. And I think very much that's what happens with great co-coaching. And as Kathy, as you said yourself, right, it needs to be intentionally planned. Co-coaching is not something we just step into and, just wing it. It really requires hours, if not days, of pre-planning. I think of some of my best work with co-coaches, and many of you have heard me write about one of my long-term team coaching partners. And we started working together in 2006. And before our first team engagement, we probably spent, I would say, 3 or 4 half days, like 2 to 3 hour working sessions together to start discussing what I'm going to be sharing in my model around co-coaching, because we knew that our teams, the teams we were working with, the ones that were already contracted, but the ones that we knew would come down the road, they really needed us to be synchronized. They needed us to understand each other, to know where we overlapped, where we were divergent. And I think for one team coaching partner and I, especially, we spent a lot of time talking about values, exploring how we were similar, how we were different, what we stood for in a professional basis, and how that value system influenced our work. And I can't say how many times over, we coached together for a 10-year period. So we worked with a lot of teams, a lot of systems. And time again, people commented on the fact that we were aligned yet diverse, right? Like, and we had found that real sweet spot of where we could come together professionally and even coaching wise, had different styles, different approaches, different professional industry backgrounds. And that allowed teams that we worked with a range, a much wider range than if it was just one of us alone. So I'm sure, Kathy, you have some stories like that. Is there something about the arc that goes into your practice that you want to share with us?
Well, absolutely, because if you've ever watched someone go like this with light or a candle, the light stays, right? It leaves a remnant. It's either heat or it's seen. So your great co-collaboration or co-coaching leaves an impact in the space in which it's been in. And
Yeah, I
so
like
that's
that.
also why I'm drawn to that.
Yeah, the imprint, right? We have so many layers of imprint in our work. And again, this is part of that bridge to the superpower quiz as well. So I thought it would be useful to pull out two pieces. Again, I'm going to go through very quickly. These are some of the core elements that we'll be exploring further in the co-coaching program. But out of my latest writing in the Reconnecting Workspaces series, I have an acronym, which is a very quick way to sort of do a litmus test in any general partnering. This could be in co-coaching. It could also be at higher level collaborations. And I've put it in the framework of lean in well. And so just a reminder of some things that we want to make sure we're doing. Are we listening? Are we listening at all the layers? Are we clear about expectations? What is needed by the system, the team, the client that we're working with? What are our expectations of each other? How do we show up? And we've used a few of these words under the A of alignment, aspirations, and assumptions. These are all things that we need to explore. How are we aligned? How are we different? What are our aspirations now and even next year or 10 years from now? This influences how we show up. And what are our assumptions? What assumptions do we need to unearth? Now, in partnering and co-facilitation and co-coaching, there can be a lot on the go. So for lean, the N here stands for noise reduction. How do we really create pause and deep connection so that we together collaboratively can focus? It takes time. And if we're getting pulled into a lot of things, that noise may actually interrupt a great partnership. I don't know if that makes sense, Kathy. I'm gonna just check in here. Like, have you seen partnerships where there's been so much noise either between the egos at play or noise with, oh, there's competing demands, or this isn't my priority. I've got so many other things on the go. So these are common things that we experience in co-coaching and collaboration anytime. What are you connecting with when you think of noise in this space?
Absolutely. I have a well-aligned team that where there's so much noise between the two of them, there's very little to no space for the client. And that may make sense in a different modality of working with teams, like advisory, perhaps. But in team coaching, you're co-creating and you're in partnership with the team collective. So you need to notice the noise and learn how to partner, but dial down what might be getting in the way. And there's that very famous performance equals potential minus interference. I think it's from the work of Tim Galloway. And it's not just not just being a good partner, it's really understanding the context in which you have to operate and what section of a client of you in that partnership.
It's really well said. And that's to the noise, it's to the needs as well, our next N. And, in terms of getting things done, like what is going to distract? What will get in the way? We can have the best of intentions, but there can be so much that can cloud into that dance, the creative evolution that happens in team coaching. Again, we're talking the range of partnering, co-facilitation, and coaching, where there really is a gradient of what is organic, what is evolving, what is planned. And so being very clear as well before you step into the room with your clients as coaches, what are your needs? What needs need to be met? What needs may need to get parked? What do you need to self-manage? Again, this is part of the intentionality behind the Superpower quiz, which is to get coaches thinking more about who they are as a coach and how they're showing up. What is their natural range? What is the stretch? What is the growth edge? And we all have growth edges, whether we've been doing this work for a few months or several decades, right? I do believe firmly that the evolution of a team and a group coach continues. And so we need to keep doing our own work. We also need to keep on learning and questioning and being open for all of these things. And that's part of that loop back and learning that's in the lean in well, the 2 L's. How are we looping this back? How are we learning from each engagement, each conversation touch point, not waiting till the end of the coaching to finish, but like at the end of a coaching session, are you as a partnership stepping back and saying, what worked well? What didn't work well? What changes do we need to make? Are there any role shifts that we need to make? Is there anything differently that we need to do in terms of preparation for ourselves and preparation for our client? And then how about next time? What can next time look like? And when you're coaching and taking that lead role, what am I doing in the backdrop? What can I be doing to support you as a coach, as a co-coach, support the system, and support the program? So there's multiple layers where we want to be having that global focus, but there's so much that happens in a team coaching engagement. It's not just, the coach and system. It's what's happening within the system. It's what's happening within the program. It's thinking about the overall arc of learning as well. So Kathy, lean in well. I don't know if you've seen this yet. So what are your thoughts on lean in well? Is it snappy enough to be remembered? Memorable?
Yeah, I think so. You talk a lot about leaning in, right? Leaning into your superpower, leaning in to listen. And well is both a qualitative word for quality, but also depth. If you think about it as the image of a well.
That's a good metaphor. So there's lots to work with. I realize I have not introduced this to this community unless you have been with us in Reconnecting Workspaces. So this has been a big part of what I've been talking about with teams in terms of their partnering over the last year in the hybrid space. So we're going to get to the 4-phase model, right? This is the model that if you've read From One to Many, or if you've looked at the digital chapter, which accompanies effective group coaching, maybe you've also picked up Reconnecting Workspaces, and you can flip forward to page 199 of Reconnecting Workspaces. And this is really the latest iteration. It's always been the same sort of framework, but I think just as the years have gone by, I've tried to make this even more accessible, because this is very much a series of questions we want to explore together as partners, as co-coaches or co-facilitators. So I've divided it down into things to do at the start of our relationship, which may be before the team or the big group or the organization is even at the horizon. It's also about what are we doing together during the design phase? And then what do we do in the room, whether the room is virtual or physical? And what do we want to do post-program? And note that post-program is not after the entire session's finish, it's post-program, post-module, post-conversation touch point. So these are very much working questions. I'm not going to go through them in any great depth today, other than really think about these as almost a checklist. So as we come together and start to get to know each other, number one, what are our strengths? Hence the Superpower quiz, right? This is a question I've been asking and exploring for 15 years. So how do we quickly articulate, like, hey, Kathy, I'm really excited to partner with you. My strength as a coach is I'm a creative tool master. I love coming into a conversation with lots of ideas in my back pocket. I see the world in very broad strokes. And that might be important for you to know, Kathy, as we go to collaborate.
Yeah.
So how about you? What's your style?
So I'm also the tool master. And I think if I was working with a coach who was the lighthouse, and wanted to, really illuminate what's going on internally, we might have to talk about the use of models and sticking with one, and not being so in the moment. What about, what are you thinking about now? What might be helpful? And to look at it from an exploratory visual way, where I think the lighthouse might do it from a much more somatic way.
Mhm. Love it. And I'm noticing too, Kathy, that if we were to co-coach together, given that we both have the same style, we'd want to look at where our overlap was, but also maybe where we're setting
Yep.
ourselves up with too much of
Yep.
one style, right? And that's we know that like teams, co-facilitation benefits when there's diversity, when there's, different complementary skills. And back to one of my favorite team coaching partners, right? I am still a diplomat at heart, right? It's what I did for many years as a professional. But my partner was known as the no BS coach. I will not fill in the blanks, but she one time came to a team coaching session with a bullwhip in her hand. And we were perfect foils for each other, right? Physically, I'm short, she was tall, different generations, and our coaching style, the way we showed up. And that time and time again, the team said, thank you. Thank you for bringing both of your perspectives, both of your voices, both of your approaches, because different members of the team could connect with either one of us in different ways. And that meant our diversity meant that we could really bring just so much more than I could have brought with my double, right? So think about, it takes time to really figure out and be able to work with people who might feel, you might feel like are complete opposite, but actually it's that polarity that can create strength if we really figure out how to navigate it. And that's part of co-coaching essentials. This is what we're going to be exploring for a 5 to 6 week period in 2023 with this new program. So I know we could talk a lot of different ways. I sort of feel, Kathy, we need to do a part 2 to this call. So maybe this is something we want to earmark for 2020
Yes.
as a next call. What do you think's important as we get into our last few minutes of this call? What do you think's like the call to action for coaches to consider out of what we've touched on today, which has been pretty broad?
Yeah, I'm going to go back to the first 2 points I made. And one is, to start looking at who you could co-coach with. So it's really about that exploration of the self. Really start thinking about who are you as a coach. And this was one of the questions I was asked in my initial coach training. Who are you as a coach? And we talk about ethics as coaches and living the ethics, not just when we're coaching, but in our daily lives. So if we take the time to invest back into ourselves, reflect on who are we as a coach, why do we coach, how do we show up, how do we want to be experienced by others? It's a really good place to start to explore if the client can value having an additional coach in partnership. How would I do that? Who could I look for? So it's that first is getting to know yourself, that self-awareness, and drawing on that. And we, Jennifer, we've kicked off supervision as one of the support mechanisms for team coaches, because we appreciate how complex team coaching is. And also to think that who could you partner with to the team, and to have those conversations, and it's challenging yourself. That would be those 2 pieces that I would say: self-awareness, and then starting to have exploratory conversations.
I'm gonna ditto you. I think validation is key, right? Like, we cannot partner if we do not know who we are. It's really, this is a really important part of the coach's journey, right? As a coach in our competency framework, it falls under coaching presence. As you've said as well, it falls under ethics. We need to understand who we are and where we're best suited to work and also partner with. And part of that means that we need to do the work. We need to really look internally. And if you've taken a look at our new team coaching certificate, the 75-hour certificate, you're going to notice that after group coaching essentials, team coaching essentials, and the practicum, the 4th course that we're recommending to coaches in their evolution as group and team coaches is the Activate Your Team and Group Coaching Superpower. That is what we're talking about today. It's really all about your presence and who you are and how you're showing up, how that creates, I would say yearning on the part of you as a coach, how it attracts even clients to you, but also it creates blind spots. Our strengths always create a shadow side. So how do we become aware of that? How do we use, as in this conversation today, partnering to really help us round out what's available to those that we serve in the coaching conversation? So I've really enjoyed our conversation here today, Kathy. Anything you want to say as we go to wrap up?
I just hope we've planted a seed here. I was speaking with another leader in the field of coaching, and coaching supervision pairs is really cutting edge. And so we're excited to be at that cutting edge. It was instinctual for us to create that as the model of how we want to deliver supervision. And also just, it's something we include in all the coursework.
Absolutely. We love to walk our talk, right, Kathy? So with that, I know you're fading in and out.
We talk about. So we recognize the value of it.
Yep, we recognize the value of it and sometimes have each other's backs in terms of as voices fade in and fade out. So a reminder on that note, if you are looking for any team coaching supervision, Kathy and I are together on the first Thursday of every month, 12 to 1:30 p.m. Eastern. And that is an opportunity for you to join us in a small group setting for supervision where we hold the space for exploration of your current team coaching cases, as well as who you are as a team coach. All right, Kathy, thank you so much. Any final comments before we go to wrap up?
No, I'm excited to see how people go forth from this community call and what they're excited to explore.
And we will circle back to this as a topic for 2023. Next week, which is the second week of November 2022, we'll be shifting gears to demo another group coaching practice. So feel free to join us Tuesday afternoon at 12 noon. We'll also be doing 4 calls this month. So I'll be doing a special session on the 4th Tuesday of the month on Vision 2023. So bring a pen, bring your notebook, join us for that process. I want to thank you, Kathy, for your leadership, your continued leadership with our team coaching work here at Potentials Realized. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Do take a moment to check out that team and group coaching superpower quiz. You'll find it at bit.ly/GT coaching superpower. Again, that's bit.ly/GT coaching superpower. It'll just take you 2 minutes to do, but you'll get also access to a report. And I'll be starting to do more outreach to the hundreds of folks who have taken this superpower quiz. We'll be holding, again, space in the new year for deep dives into what are the different superpowers, and we'll be talking more and more on that. So thanks again, Kathy. Be well. Have a great evening. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.